Hello, my name is Karen Block. I'm a teacher here at Preston High School, and I'm just going to share some tips with you today about how to survive DLP and even optimize, possibly. So this is just a table of contents of the different things that this slideshow contains, and so feel free not to read and just keep paying attention. All right, so the biggest game changer for me is treating every day like a new day. That means that the learning the students are doing today does not carry over to tomorrow, which means that tomorrow, if they miss today, they're more likely to sign in, check in with you, and engage in tomorrow's work. People don't like this, teachers, because usually we say, well, you have to do the work and this day is going to build into the next day. And if you miss it, that's an incentive for you to be here. And nope, it just doesn't work that way in my experience. And so doing the work today does not mean or require you to be able to engage in the work tomorrow. Everything is just like a little vacuum. Okay, so think of it like that. If you think about missed work being baggage that they have to carry up a hill, they're just a lot less likely to be able to take that next step. Whereas if they are engaging in your learning in the course as if just today's work is happening today in this cell or in this box on a game board or in this little tile, the next time they come around, they'll grab something else and engage in different learning. That does mean that I work in some makeup days, but who doesn't? And those are the days that they can go back and fill in the gaps. Yep, there will be gaps. Right. And that's just okay. It has to be because we want to see what students can do, not necessarily to jump through every hoop we have for them, but to engage in the essential learnings in a variety of different ways. And it just works, period. It's like such a huge game changer for me and for them, really. So the other thing that really works for me is this is like the silliest thing to say, but learning is growth and we want to measure that growth. But we tend not to. We tend to say, okay, your first demonstration is this, and your second demonstration is this, and so then we're going to average them out. But really what our first demonstration does is it sort of sets the baseline. So that way when they demonstrate further attempts at that skill, then we can see how they have grown, how they've applied the feedback, how they have taken it and learned. That's just like really amazing. We want them to do that. And so if we want them to learn, then we want to measure the learning, which would be the second demonstration, the subsequent demonstrations after the first. And so I like to just completely ignore the things that they've done earlier. So for example, this level 1 under speaking for day 5, if we end up doing really, really well on that later on, and these are just tossed in, I'll explain this in a second, but if we do better, then let's ignore that level 1. If we have a huge miss in this day 3, that doesn't mean that, or day 4, that doesn't mean that we just like completely use that against the student. Just we look at the next day instead, because that's when they were able to engage in the skill. What you see here is how I track this, and it's a chart that gives everyone a heart attack every time they see it until they understand what they're looking at. So what you're seeing here, every day every row is a day, and the cells that have something in them, those are the skills that I've activated for pretend. This is just for you guys right now, but just those are the skills that I've activated for those days. So for example, on day 5, you're going to do some listening, and then they're going to do some speaking. And so I usually try to organize it in the morning. They do some sort of consuming information through listening, reading, or consuming media. And in the afternoon, they do some sort of expressing of information through speaking or writing or creating media. I try not to tackle a huge heap of skills every single day. I found this is how I had it organized for quad 1. There's just like, that was a lot every single day. Like here, potentially 4 things that they had to do. It's a lot to mark. It's a lot for them, which is why you'll see like later on, I tried to sort of reduce the amount that they would be doing every day. Over here in communication, I try to mark overarching communication. That's our super skill that we assess all the time. And they are made aware of the criteria for that. And it's how they express themselves. I didn't add it into the chart because I forgot. And what you see here as well. So these are the learnings that are activated for that day. If they don't hand the work in for the entire skill, for me, it's like one huge orange row. Or if they've handed in partial skill. So we see the speaking, we see the creating media, but not the listening. So then that's an NA. If we start to see a whole column full of like, you didn't do the work, that tells us that, hey, that's when the credit becomes at risk. And so just because we're missing 1 or 2 demonstrations here and there, that yeah, you're right, the work's not done. There are some holes, but from what we do see, we can make an assessment, and we can see that some learning has taken place. And yeah, they can go back and reattempt or fill in those gaps at any time they would like to. But that doesn't mean they haven't done the work. It just means they're not providing a full picture, and they're not putting themselves in the position of getting good feedback so they can improve. Nope, it's not ideal. The ideal is you'd engage with every piece of learning, but it doesn't always happen, right? So let's look at what we do have in front of us and not penalize for what we don't. And this is why I start talking here as well about breaking our essential learnings into parts. So if you think of each essential learning like a pizza, and each of the pieces of the pizza are the sort of the daily ways that we can roll out those essential learnings. So they're not, we don't ingest a whole pizza unless we're like superhuman. And so we like to break them into pieces in the same way our students can't demonstrate the whole entire essential learning in one fell swoop. They need it broken down for them. And that's the days. And by the end of the quad, ideally, they would have something that resembles a pizza. They might have one piece, they might have 6 pieces, but really at the end of the day, we have something to represent each would-be pizza. And that's the idea. Okay. The next slide talks about how I organize my units. This is just something I tried in the spring and it worked, and I'm trying it again to see if it works in real school. And so the overarching communication, that's the skill. That's our overarching super skill, always assessing that. But for phase 1, I'm looking at setting foundational knowledge, phase 2, applying various techniques, and phase 3, inquiring and innovating. So the idea there is I'm going to try to do like entry-level concepts in phase 1, the first unit. And so during those days, I'm looking at do you understand the text? Are you able to do some comparison among texts? When we moved on to phase 2, we look at applying various techniques. So we're going to listen and read and consume media for the techniques that they use to communicate effectively, and then they go and express by using those techniques that they just learned about in the morning. This really helps as well to address plagiarism, because the things that they're consuming in the morning are the things that they're using in the afternoon, and they're making some good connections there that they can't really go and plagiarize, because they're using the stuff that we gave them in the morning, and it ends up working out really well. And so by morning and afternoon, I mean in the morning they're consuming, in the afternoon they're expressing. And then they do some innovation and inquiry in phase 3, where they start to probe and ask questions and dive deep and engage in their own thinking and learning, which they can do more easily. They're ready for that if you've set the foundational knowledge and they're applying various techniques. It tends to work really well. I am glad that I did it. I have ways that I want to do it better the next time I teach it, but it's a good model, I think, for at least something to try again. And this is a special note to English teachers in particular, because I know myself. So this is a note to me, but also a note to those of you out there who kind of tend to only look at one thing in the curriculum. English historically, at least as I was growing up, was reading and then writing, and sometimes speaking and having to. Usually for an audience in front of me, like my classmates and my teacher, which is the least authentic audience ever. And so we need to be thinking about English isn't just reading novels and writing essays. There are ways to get at that skill of argumentation that isn't just an essay. We've heard this over and over and over again. It actually is true. So just a little reminder out there that there is a whole other area, or many other areas of the curriculum that that we need to make sure we can get at. And if they can leave my course, I like to think of this where the learning hasn't tortured them, big goal. And then if they know that they can be consumers of information, interpreters of information, and communicators of their brilliant ideas, because they are really brilliant ideas, then hey, we win if we can make sure that happens. Yeah, try that. It's a good one, I think. And then we're actually fairly representing the curriculum. Okay, so I like to use Google Meets for fun human interaction instead of for communicating lesson content. So yes, for attendance, yes, you're here, yes, we're capturing speaking if we end up needing that evidence. But really what we're looking for is the pure joy of pointless interaction. That's a huge deal. We're missing it right now during these times. So I take this time to play games and to have fun and to ask them really random questions, make connections, would you rathers, give fake answers. Everyone gets to reply and they're a lot more willing to reply if they know that they're they could actually try to give a wrong answer to something, and then we just end up enjoying it. Do what works for you, but I find it really works for me, and it's just a really enjoyable time. And I think that students are they're delighted to be there. Either that, or they are really kind and they make me think they're delighted to be there. So I put my lesson content into videos and audio. So you can see embedded into this slide. This is an example here. That's an audio file of me explaining the slide. Meta, there's a lot of layers here. And also I like to embed audio into Google Docs by just hyperlinking, uploading the same thing, record on the phone, upload it to Drive, open up the release conditions so that anyone with the link can view. and hyperlink it. And so especially for the students who have a very short attention span like me, I like to just include help right there in the moments they might need it, the just-in-time model, right? That idea that like, I need it now. Where is my teacher? I don't want to go and find a video that's like 18 tabs over. The help is there in that moment, and that is a big help to them. The help is helpful, guys. That's you're welcome. I'm tired. Here we go. Just a simple tip to make Google Meets a really, really, really easy, effortless thing that you never have to think about at the beginning of your quad. If you set up Google Groups and you invite your students in Calendar to your meets every day, and you activate that meet link, then it'll just show up in their calendar. You don't even have to notify them of it. You can untick that box, and then all they have to do is go to meet.google.com, and you never have to think about creating rooms and sharing links with students. We forget that, we're busy when there are too many moving parts. This is a really, really good investment of time. You probably already know it, but I agree with you for knowing it. Good idea. And the last tip I have for you is just the daily schedule. Whoever came up with that, I love you. You're wonderful. Just sharing that daily schedule every single day. I use it and a few of us around here, we use a Google slideshow instead, where each day is its own slideshow. And the first slide, I like to put just the overview of the day. I've broken our day into 5 blocks because, again, I have a very poor attention span. Slide 2 is usually a sharing of the essential learnings that I'm targeting for the day. And then 3 and on is just each block of time. And so inside that is where they can, like, it's their starting point, their hyperlinks to go to their docs that's right in there. And then I feed this into the content area in D2L, where each day is a unit, as they call it. And then all of the information, all the content goes right in there. The last slide here is usually a how to share your work with me, if it's audio or video, or making sure that your account is linked in D2L, that sort of stuff. Which they often need a reminder about. Okay, that's it. This is me. This is what I've done. It works for now. I don't know. We'll probably have more ideas later, because I tend to learn a lot when I talk to other people. So I hope you guys have stuff to share too. Take care, and thank you for listening and watching. See you.
Many thanks to Karen for sharing all of her wonderful tips for teaching in the DLP. Please connect with us. You can email myself or Lisa Hicknell, or you can follow us on Twitter or check out our website. Have a lovely day.